Hi, Jerry.
Hello. Let's see.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well for a Monday.
Yeah, I hear you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Same, I would say. It feels like Monday.
Yes, yes. I know when I was just emails I sent out over the weekend to, confirm things, it was like, they're all coming in now. So I checked the calendar. Oh.
Okay. Hey, Greg.
Good morning. Hi, Jerry.
Good morning, Greg.
So I did hear from Adriana and Joanne Melise. They won't be able to make it.
Okay, that's too bad.
I know.
Adriana especially tends to have a ton of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a weighty topic today.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Well, right now that's were you able to reach Pat?
I texted.
Okay.
Hi, Tammy. Hi, Owen.
Hey, Shannon. Hey, Greg.
Good morning, Tammy. So we generally wait to get started till we have a quorum. So we're on hold for the moment as people join up. We've got. I just saw a message from Jessica that she's having some technical difficulties, but will be logging on.
Shannon, were you able to send out the latest mirror?
Yes, I did.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Jessica. I see you figured your way around it.
So I think we need 3 more people for a quorum. Is that correct, Greg? Do we need 8?
We need 7, I believe.
Okay. Hi, Mayor Cruz.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Ellis. How are you?
Good morning.
Let's see what we've got. I think we're one more person and we can get started. Hello, Denise.
Hey, how are you, Greg?
Good. So I think we have 7 folks on the meeting, which is what we need to get started. I'm just going to double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, we do. So we can go ahead and call the meeting to order. My name is Greg McMahon from DDS. And before we get started, as usual, I'll run through the rules around public meetings. Meetings of the ARPA Individual and Family Engagement Committee are public meetings as defined by the Connecticut Freedom of Information Act and should follow those guidelines. As a public meeting being held virtually, it'll be recorded and made available on the DDS website. Committee members must make a good faith effort to state their name and title each time they speak during the meeting. And if a committee member would like to speak, please raise your hand and one of the co-chairs will acknowledge you. There is no public comment portion to this meeting and members of the public are able to join, watch, and listen only. So our first order of business is to approve 2 sets of minutes. I think the last time the minutes didn't get posted. So you should have received both sets of minutes. I believe actually I'm not, what's the date of the first one? Does anybody have that handy? It was
This is Shannon
August.
Jacobino, DDS ombudsperson. I believe it was August 7th.
Okay, thank you. Greg McMahon from DDS. So if folks have had a chance to look, are there any comments or questions or anything on the August 7th minutes? Okay, hearing none. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes for August 7th meeting?
Denise Palladino, SD Director. Approved minutes, so approved.
All right, a second.
Maricruz Ortiz Benfin, I second the motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, the minutes from August 7th are approved. And we also have the minutes from the September 11th meeting. Again, any comments, questions, additions? If not, then I'll take a motion to approve.
Jessica Sendell, DDS. I motion to approve.
All right, and have a second.
Cheryl Ellis, Director, DEI, DDS, second.
All right, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? Abstentions? Okay, minutes from September 11th are approved. Thank you very much. So today, based on the last meeting we had, there was a point raised or looking to have more information for individuals and families about the waiting list, how it works, and just a general overview of the waiting list. I think with an eye toward creating a document, a simple family-friendly document about the waiting list, perhaps, and kind of pigtailing on that. We can't really talk about the waiting list without talking about Pratt. So I think both of those topics will come up today. So we have our resident expert on all things waitlist and Pratt with us today, Tammy Venegay from, and Tammy, I don't know your exact title at this point, but Tammy is going to be giving us information. And you also should have received the MIR Management Information Report that has data about the waitlist. So you hopefully have had a chance to look at that. So Tammy, I'll turn it over to you. And before I do, just as we're going through the meeting, please think of questions you think families want to know. You can ask them today, but we want to kind of keep track of those so that as we move forward with creating stuff, we will have a basic questions that we can kind of work with. So Tammy, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Tammy Venegay. I'm the Division Director of Children's Services. I'm also the Central Office Liaison for Pratt. So I work with the Pratt managers in the region to make sure everybody's being consistent across the regions, and with anything that we implement and all the Pratt rules, make sure everybody's on the same page. So like Greg said, you can't talk about the wait list unless you talk about the Pratt database and Pratt. So big overview. The Pratt database currently has 2,370 individuals open who are active residentially requesting services either now or in the future. So of those 2,370, 134 of those are E's, 1,100 are urgent, 1,136 are future needs. The wait list, however, is only made up, oh, I'm sorry. So that's what we currently have open and active in the Pratt database. The wait list is only made up of those E's and urgents who either are no service or underserved. So the wait list out of that 134 E's and 1,100 urgents, only 787 are on our wait list. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different categories in the Pratt database. 10 different targets to identify an individual. So a target may be admin, which means the administration.
I'm sorry, Tammy.
Yeah.
It's Cheryl. What exactly are E's?
Emergencies. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. Tammy, could you, unless you have it built into later on, could you explain what makes a person an emergency?
An emergency is somebody who is either homeless, is imminent risk of harming themselves or others, and somebody becomes an emergency based on a Pratt decision. So a Pratt request comes in, the Pratt team discusses it, they read over the Pratt request and the justification, and they can either say, yes, we agree this person should have the category of an E, or no, we do not agree based on what we have received that this person is an E. So that's an emergency. The next one is, so I'll do the categories first. So that was emergency. The next one is an urgent. We have a residential request assessment that with every residential request for somebody who lives in their own home in a CCH or in their family home completes, and a family or the individual or the guardian can identify we want to become an urgent because we will accept funding within the next year if it is available. We then have future needs. Future needs are those individuals or families that say, we will accept funding sometime in the future, but right now we are good. And that is also on the residential request assessment. So the family can request an urgent or a future needs, and they will automatically get it based on what they are requesting. An emergency has to be approved by the Pratt committee. Any questions about the three categories? Because those are the only three categories we have. I will tell you, if somebody requests an E and does not get it, they have a right to file a category hearing to go in front of a hearing officer and say why they believe they're an E. The Pratt manager and our attorney go in and they defend why they were not made an E, and a hearing officer then makes that decision. The different targets that we have in our Pratt database are administration, which means administration is making a decision. So that can be used when DDS closes a group home and says, we are making an administrative decision that this is no longer an option and these people have to change services. We have age out, and those are those individuals that are placed outside of the family home or have residential funding already prior to finishing school. So those are our kids that we share with DCF. Those are our individuals we share with voluntary care management. Those are those individuals that are getting Carelon autism services. Those are the individuals that are currently in our BSP program. They are subsidized adoption and the children that have been placed outside the family home by their school district. Those make up our age outs. We have forensic. So those individuals that need services due to their forensic needs, we have that identified in our Pratt database. Move is for those individuals residentially who are at one location and want to move. They want to take their money and portabilize it to a different location. Those are moves. We have no service. That's part of our wait list is no service. Those are those individuals that have no residential funding at this time. We have OLM, and I'm not quite sure where that came from, but it's those in long-term care who want to come over to our services.
Excuse me, Tammy, this is Shannon Jacobino, DDS ombudsperson. What was that again? What was the term?
It's OLM.
OLM. And what was that again?
I think we hardly ever use it. That's why I'm stuttering. It's for those individuals like in long-term care that want to come out of long-term care. We have STS, Southbury. So those individuals leaving Southbury that want to get services some other place. We have a category, we have a target for them. Underserved are for those individuals that currently have funding. So underserved is also part of our wait list. The other ones, other than no serve and underserved, none of these other targets are part of our wait list. Underserved are there for those individuals who have some money but want more money. I'm living on my own. I had 15 hours worth of services. I really could use another 10. And then we have BSP and AOB. BSP are those kids, those individuals that were found eligible for our BSP program and they're waiting for services. AOB is are those kids that how we identify them as an age out.
This is correct, McMahon for DDS. Tammy, could you tell folks what the terms BSP and AOB are?
Yep, BSP is our behavior services program. It's for those individuals that have behavioral health needs and need additional supports and services to be able to stay into their family home. And AOB is basically age out, BSP. It's those kids in our BSP program that are aging out.
And both of these groups are children, correct? Under 20, under 18, or?
So they have to be eligible prior to the age of 18, but they stay in the program until 21 at this time. So those are our categories and our targets. So all of that is within our Pratt database. And within that Pratt database, we can run reports. Currently, we have an initiative for the older caregiver in our Pratt database. We looked at who has a caregiver who's 65 or over, who is an urgent, and we identified them that they can get money. So whatever initiative that is happening, we can look at our Pratt database and say, here's going to be our target. This is what our initiative is, who's on our wait list, and who can we take off our wait list. It's a great way to identify those initiatives that DDS has or the legislators give us to be able to then reduce our wait list. So right now, our wait list is 700 and has 787 individuals on it. Those are our E's and our no serve and underserved urgents. So that's the big umbrella, quick, fast overview. And if you look at the mirror, you can see what the definition is of our wait list. I went over residential because for day, even though it always says there's individuals on our wait list, we really do not have a day wait list because everybody who asks for day funding gets it. So that wait list, those numbers in the wait list are really those individuals who have dollars, but they're waiting for a day program to begin.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. Might be a good time to ask. And unfortunately, we didn't get all the family members that we might typically get on today's meeting. So there's, I think, just 2 of you. So kind of counting on you to ask questions about, that was a lot. Are there parts that weren't clear or that you want to ask questions about? Did we throw an acronym in there or something, or anything else you want to try and ask about before we move on?
This is Shannon Jacobino, DDS ombudsperson. One thing Tammy said was the MIR. That is the management information report that I sent the link to, and I, led people to the section that refers to the waiting list.
Greg McMahon from DDS. One of the things that Tammy had mentioned was, I think you used it as portabilize. We kind of take the word portable and we do things to it. But just so folks understand, portability means if somebody has funding and they want to change the program they're in, they can take the funding they have and bring it with them to a new program to support that new program. So if you're with a CLA and you want to move to IHS, you can take the funding you have and move it to IHS.
So every request for funding goes to Pratt. So an individual cannot get funding unless a Pratt request goes in. However, they can change around their funding once they have it, as long as they stay within their budget. When somebody in the Pratt database is identified as a move, it's because they are in a CLA or a CRS, and they want to change that CLA or CRS, and Pratt makes the referrals and helps them find a new location. If somebody has IHS and I'm just going to use 2 agencies and nothing against or for either one, but somebody could be getting services from ABC agency, individual home supports, and they actually want to go to XYZ agency with their individual home supports. They can do that without Pratt. It's the CLAs and the CRSs that go through Pratt because we track where our vacancies are. So we need to know where those vacancies are. I will tell you the downside of the Pratt database is it does not get, at this time, does not get updated on an annual basis for those people that are active in it. That is something our quality directors are looking into. What we've discovered is when we run our older caregiver list, people are in as an urgent, they have no services, and they wanted money. So we're like, here's, now you can have your money. Now you can have your services. What do you want? Let's build a package for you. They say, no, thank you. We don't want anything. So we projected we were going to spend a specific amount of money that the legislators asked us to target. And now somebody has come off our list. So we are trying to come up with a way to make sure the Pratt database is as up to date as possible with rates, because our rates have changed lately, and what a family or an individual will actually accept. Are there any other questions?
This is Shannon
Jerry?
Jacobino, DDS ombudsperson. Jerry has her hand raised.
Yes, this is Jerry Kogut, parent, and also with Midstate ARC on the board. So if somebody is requesting a change or whatever, typically how long would that process take to evaluate what they're requesting, and then if their request is approved?
So Pratt meets every Tuesday. So we request from our case managers and supervisors that a Pratt request comes in. There's a certain process that we send it in, that it gets submitted by 4 o'clock on Thursday. Every request that's submitted by 4 o'clock on Thursday is reviewed on Tuesday. There is one Tuesday in each region where we do our utilization resource review, record review, and those are for those individuals that have funding above and beyond what our funding guidelines approve. But a lot of times they try to slip some Pratt request in there also. So Pratt request gets reviewed every week.
Okay.
And then the outcomes are written that day or the next day and sent back to the case manager or the supervisor by Wednesday, Thursday at the latest.
This
And
is
just
Greg,
another question.
this is Greg McMahon from DDS. So just to see if there's more to your question is, are you asking also how long it would take for the actual person to move to where or get the support that they're approved for?
No, basically the beginning stages, what
Okay.
she had talked about. My other question, though, my understanding is that this will be somehow developed to be family, parent friendly. Is that correct?
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. It kind of broke up for me anyway.
My second question was if this information, this material will be developed into a family friendly, caregiver friendly format.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. That's Tammy's presentation is kind of the beginning of that process, from which that's why we're hoping today, if you have questions, you ask them. If you think of them after, you send them to us, because what we really want to know is what do families want to know about the wait list, and we'll do our best to answer them. So the goal being that we have some sort of family-friendly materials in and around the waitlist and Pratt, whether they're two separate things or somehow one. I don't know. It is fairly confusing. There's a lot of terms, and I think to most families, the wait list isn't what families think it is when they hear the term wait list necessarily. So
That's correct.
yeah.
Thank you.
So this is Shannon Jacobino, DDS ombudsperson. So Tammy, is it only like annualized funding that goes through Pratt? So I know that DDS uses one times a lot to cover different things. Do those requests go, like, does any kind of resource request go through Pratt or only for those annualized dollars?
Well, we're going to make things really confusing here.
Sorry.
If it's a one-time request and you're on a contract, that goes through our resource managers. If it's a one-time request and you're on a budget, that goes to Pratt.
Okay.
However, I will tell you the Pratt managers typically sit in on the discussions on the one-time requests.
So just, this is Greg McMahon from DDS. To clarify, on a budget means, so Tammy, on a budget would mean versus with a provider, the difference between those two.
So if you're on a contract, that's with a provider, the provider has a contract with these dollars attached to them, that's on a contract. If it's in a budget, that means that's in an individualized budget. Not every individualized budget is self-hire, so I don't want to say you have self-hire. Most are, but people can self-direct, but there are some providers that are also in a budget. So I don't want to just say it's one or the other. If you have an individualized budget, those go through Pratt. If you're on a contract with a provider, then those go through resource managers. It's
And,
again, there's just no easy answer to that because,
Yeah.
you know,
This is Shannon Jacobino, DDS ombudsperson again. Thank you. I know sometimes asking these questions goes down rabbit holes that that make it confusing for all of us. So sorry about that. And then the other question I had too, just for people, is like, who is on the Pratt team? What positions are, or is it?
Yep.
Does it vary by region?
no. Our procedure identifies exactly who has to be on the Pratt committee. So the Pratt manager chairs the committee and is a member. The individual family support assistant regional director is part of it. The assistant regional director for private is on it. The self-determination directors are on it. The resource administrator is on it. The quality directors are part of it. Yes, that's who's on it. You have to have at least 3 members to have a quorum, or else we cannot have Pratt.
Thank you.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. Tammy, I'm assuming this still happens. It happened when I was ARD. So if there's a true emergency, unexpected, immediate emergency, where, you know, a caregiver passes away and a person's on their own, the Pratt team can meet kind of ad hoc, and through electronic means to make sure that that emergency is addressed immediately. That I'm assuming is still the case, Tammy?
Yes.
Yeah.
But really, it's only for those that are emergency situations, not hate to say regular request, but it really is for those that, like you said, something happens late Tuesday afternoon after Pratt's already been over, or Wednesday, or even Friday before Pratt meets, that, you know, we just identified somebody who's in the hospital and they need to come out, or, you know, something. That usually happens through emails. And again, at least 3 members have to agree on allocating funding for the supports that are needed. So a Pratt request, let's start with a Pratt request. A Pratt request starts with the individual and their team. This case manager writes it up. There are certain attachments. I don't think you guys need to know what the attachment, I don't think that has to be part of it. There's certain attachments that they also send. The supervisor is responsible for reviewing that Pratt request, making sure it's accurate with the money and the attachments, and the write-up actually includes everything it needs to include. They sign off on it and they send it to the appropriate Pratt email, whichever region they're in. The Pratt secretary gets it all organized. The Pratt and does an agenda. The Pratt manager also reviews. Some packets get sent back because they're incomplete. They're not accurate. They are missing information. And then the whole Pratt committee reviews every single one that comes in. They make a decision that day if they can. An outcome is written, and that outcome is then sent back to the case manager and supervisor, and it's their responsibility to get that information on that outcome out to the individual and the individual, the family, and the other team members.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. Tammy, because probably some family members have heard of the term PAR, Programmatic Administrative Review, that's usually done by the regional director's office first and then perhaps bumped up to CO. I think people are pretty familiar with, or more familiar with that than the administrative review, category review you talked about earlier. Does a PAR play any role in Pratt decisions?
PAR does not play a role in a Pratt decision. However, if the individual or family is not happy with the Pratt outcome, they have the ability to file a PAR. And a PAR is programmatic administrative review with the regional director. But Pratt does not. It was your wording that made me say, no, it doesn't have a decision. The Pratt committee does not say we're going to make this decision and they can PAR it if they want, or oh, we better say yes to this or they're going to PAR it. No, the Pratt decision is based on the Pratt rules that we have been they have been given to follow. And a PAR is when the individual or family is unhappy with that decision.
So does that, Greg McMahon from DDS, does that, would they PAR a category decision as well, or own category decisions only go through that other sort of more legal process?
Category decisions only go through category hearings, the more legal process. It's if I asked for money or services and I did not get them, that's what is PAR'd. I'm underserved or I have no services and I'm urgent and I want $20,000 of in-home supports. Pratt says no, because according to the Pratt rules, we have no funding. So remember, every Pratt decision can only be based on our legislative allocation. And that's where our initiatives come from. And if we have dollars, we set forth, I want to say rules or guidelines of who can receive that funding with the thought in mind of how can we reduce our wait list. So Pratt is not oh, we're in this kind of mood today, so we're going to fund these individuals. That's not, there are Pratt rules, there are Pratt guidelines, and we have funding restrictions. So the reason we have 2,370 people open in Pratt is because we can't fund all of them. We don't have the funding for that. So we have to come up with guidelines and rules for our Pratt committees to follow on who can receive funding and who cannot.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. I think one of the things we hear from families and individuals is what number on the list am I? And when does my number come up that I get my funding? I think that by nature of the word list, they think there's an order to it. I think you've kind of covered that there's not, but is that a question we think we need to address for families more specifically? That was sort of a probably not a real question, but
I think some families may feel that way, but I think we busted that myth with training to our case managers on how to describe it and training to our supervisors and our other teams on how to describe what it means. But it isn't you're not standing in a deli line. I can say if Shannon is on the list and her parent is 70 and Greg is on the list and he wants a CLA and his parents are 50 and Cheryl's on the list and she wants IHS and her parents are 50, if the initiative is the older caregiver, the money's going to go to Shannon. If the initiative is anybody who wants a CLA gets a CLA, we're going to run the list and the money will go to Greg. If the initiative is whoever wants IHS supports, then it's Cheryl who's going to get the money. It depends on the initiative and the guidelines that Pratt is given at any given time. That is how decisions are made on who can get funding. If somebody is made an E, regardless of what they want, they get the funding. They just have to find the services, which is why our wait list can get so long. It's finding the available provider who is willing to give the services, which is difficult.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. I see Cheryl has her hand up.
I actually just had a quick question. I don't know if parents would ask this question, but do we track the different types of funding and how frequently they're given and in what areas?
From our in our Pratt database, we can run our placement list, and it so I can run, so today I can say how many people did we place so far this fiscal year, and it will tell me how many people we have placed, what they received, and how much money. So it's not something that we typically get asked. We get asked about placements, but we really don't get asked the different target area category, not categories, but we don't get asked where they went. But we do get asked how many people we place every year. I think if you look at the mirror that was sent to you, that's reported in there as well. That also tells you how many people get IHS, how many people are in a CLA, how many people are in CCHs. So that quarterly report, all that information is typically pulled out of the Pratt database. That section, not everything, but that section.
Well, this is Greg McMahon from DDS. You mentioned the elder care initiative that has just happened, over 65, I guess, right?
Yes.
I know in the past CCH has been an initiative that people, if they chose a CCH, may get funding sooner or not. Is that still the case?
Yes. So would you like me to tell you what we currently can fund?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's what we currently can fund. And I'll probably miss something. I have a list somewhere, I just don't have it pulled up. So anybody who is requesting a CCH will be able to receive funding once they identify a CCH. If somebody is moving into one of our new supported housing developments, they will receive funding once they are accepted and going into the supported housing. Ease receive funding. And I said CCH, supported housing, ease.
Brad's?
Yeah, I don't think that as an initiative because that's we
yes.
get that every year.
Right.
There's one more. Darn it. Older caregiver. Older caregiver, that's the big initiative. So that is, we have a list of who had older caregiver who was going to be 65 by the end of this year. We have them identified, and they will be able to get the supports and services they are requesting.
This is Shannon Giacovino, DDS ombudsperson. This might be, I don't know, a little off topic, but I'm just curious if you know, Tammy, how many people who are E's who have funding right now who can't find, a provider. So you had mentioned that before. I'm just curious if you know what the numbers are in that.
So if you're an E, that means you haven't found a provider to give you services. We will fund whatever service that they receive. So right now we have 134 E's looking for the service because they will all get funding. So they are not waiting for funding because they will get it.
Oh,
We
right.
may not know
Okay.
how much that is because if I have a lawn 6 and I move into a 5-bed CLA, hypothetically, that's a different cost than if I'm a lawn 6 and I go live in an apartment and need those services. So we may not know how much, but if you're an E, you are going to get funded for appropriate services. So we have 134 people waiting for providers who are willing to accept them and give them the appropriate services that they need.
And is that just residential or is that residential and day?
So day, we don't have an E for day. Everybody,
Oh, right. But you
We
have
don't have-
people who have funding, but the numbers reflect people who have funding who can't find a provider. Got it. Okay, thank
Yes.
you.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. And again, this is kind of like Shannon's question. It may be slightly off topic, but related. We sometimes have families, through my experience anyway, who say, I have a son or daughter who has a lawn of 3, and I want a CLA. How does Pratt handle situations where somebody's funding may not support the service they're requesting?
So my answer is if you can find a provider who will accept you at Lawn 3 funding in your CLA, you can have your Lawn 3 funding. You're not going to find a provider who will accept you at your Lawn 3 funding in a CLA. So here's some other options that are available for you and your family. If somebody has that level of funding already and they can find a provider who's willing to accept it, they can. If somebody asks, if a Lawn 3 comes to Pratt, says, I want to go into a CLA, Pratt will say, we do not refer people at this lawn to CLA. So Pratt would not make the referrals. Pratt does not think it's appropriate. Their lawn is too low. Typically CLA and CRSs, we're looking at lawns 5 and above.
And that this is Greg McMahon for DDS. That, at least in part, is because the group home can't operate effectively on the smaller amounts of funding.
And the individuals have the ability to live more independently and do not need that 24-hour close of supervision. So it's not just they wouldn't go into a CLA or a CRS. They're really not appropriate. They have higher skills and they don't need that level of support. And we really do want all of our individuals to live the fullest, most independent life they can. And so that is also in the back of the mind of the Pratt members is this request going to provide this person to become as independent as they can be? Oh, assistive technology. I knew I was going to forget one. We can, we will approve assistive technology assessments. And once those assessments are done, we will, Pratt will fund the equipment. We have an initiative for that. We have assistive technology money for that. So that is another request that if it comes to Pratt, that they will fund. I knew I was going to try to forget one. And that's an important one. Assistive technology is a big deal. Again, it helps build people's independence.
This is Shannon Giacovino, DDS Ombudsperson. Does anybody else have any other questions? Lena, I see you came on. Are there any questions you have? I know you missed the sort of bulk of Tammy's presentation, but
I just, we always receive a lot of, a lot of questions, for families, that they have children, with special needs, then the concern that they have is just We have a lot of families that they don't qualify for DDS because the IQ is past 69. Then these families, these children, they still need a lot of services. And then they've been a struggle to look it up for different settings. That's one of the questions that I have is anything that DDS can move forward in order to open a little the doors to, to accommodate these big families that they are really struggling with no services, no money to provide, additional therapies for the children because they are not rich, they are not poor, they're in the middle. And it's very hard. And then the other thing is that the families who qualify for DDS, then like you say, Tammy, they still looking out for different providers and they can find providers. Then they call us, to try to look it up. And I am right there at the computer, try to look it up for where the parents live, to try to find some place that is be maybe close to them, that is going to fit the child's needs. And is very, very extremely difficult right now to get programs that they are available, especially with the children have a very strong behaviors. Then right now we have a lot of children that, the increase of mental health crisis, a very short age, 5, 6, 7 years old, diagnostic, with depression, anxiety, PTSD, and psychosis. Then these children is just become a little more challenging, and it's hard to hear these stories over and over and over, and the parents crying and crying on the phone for hours. Then I can tell the parents, like, please stop, don't cry anymore. I just had to move forward. I just sitting down there and try to be sure that the parent is calm and try to see, how we can guide them.
So,
So I know legislation has asked us to look at eligibility. However, our eligibility is in our statute. It's not DDS that is saying this person is going to be eligible, this person isn't. It's in our statute. We have to follow the law. So that is what we have to do. For those individuals with mental health needs, DCF is our child agency for children with mental health. They have some subcontracted out those services for voluntary services because many of these families are just asking for help. There isn't abuse and neglect, and we know that. So they subcontract that out to voluntary care management, which is under CareLon. And all a family has to do is call the DCF care line for the referral. DCF knows nothing about this family after that initial phone call to the referral. They're not in their link system. DCF is not tracking them. It's all under voluntary care management. One of the stumbling blocks for families reaching out for assistance with their kids that have more mental health needs was having to be under the DCF umbrella. So DCF really wanted to move that to voluntary care management under CareLon, so they could get their services there. So oftentimes when somebody is referred even to BSP and we know they have ID, if there's mental health, we do want them to make the referral to voluntary care management because they have the expertise in mental health. So they will accept individuals with those mental health needs. I actually meet with them on a monthly basis to go over who they have, who's eligible for us, so we can talk about transition when they age out of voluntary care management, because it's voluntary care management ends for our individuals right now at the age of 21. So there is a resource out there. Because of statutes, DCF is our child and family agency for families that need family support and family services. DDS can support the child under our BSP program. However, we do not have services for families because our funding is always based on for the individual because of our waiver. So a lot of times with DCF, and I meet with DCF on a monthly basis to talk about our shared individuals as well, we have those discussions. Is it a family need or is it the individual child? So we can make sure we're working together to best support a family. So DDS at this time, who we accept is based on statute. We have to follow statute. It's just what we have to do. But we also want to partner with our sister agencies to make sure children is what you talked about, children are supported in the best way possible.
This is Greg McBain from DDS. Tammy, what you said something like Carelon? What could you spell that? Or what?
It's Care, LON, Carelon. That's their name. It used to previously known as Beacon.
Okay, thank you.
So Beacon is a federal Medicaid, and they changed their name. They rebranded to Carelon. Why? I don't know. Not my agency. I don't know. But I also meet with Carelon also has the autism services for those individuals on Medicaid to get BCBA and behavior tech. We get a list from them about our shared kids as well. So we actually do a lot to identify who's getting those services outside of our agency to make sure when they age out of those services, we can take over and the family and the individual doesn't automatically lose everything, because that's not fair to a family to have had support up into the age of 21 and then have nothing. So that's those are our age outs. Okay, so when I talked about our age outs, those are our age outs. We want to make sure that the family doesn't all of a sudden lose a bunch of services, which those services were necessary to keep that family together.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. I'm not sure if this ultimately could be a Lauren question, but or statement. If a family who maybe doesn't meet the criteria but thinks they do, in other words, they're calling DDS and asking questions like Lena did about, well, I have a child with mental health problems who may not otherwise be eligible for DDS. Does our website point people to those other resources so that if they're looking at DDS, they can find, if you have a child with mental health issues, this is your contact? Do we have those kind of cross-departmental references to steer people to the place they should go?
This is Lauren Gray from DDS. I don't know. I have not seen that information anywhere. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I know a lot of
Tammy,
families.
that was a great description of kind of what a family who doesn't necessarily qualify for DDS can do. But I don't know how they find that out, especially if they're not sure where to go.
I get at least 3 emails a week from families who just found my name, and I direct them. The helpline, because they can refer to BSP, have been educated on the other resources that are in the community, but I've never seen it on our website. So
Tammy, I really, and that was a really good description, and I agree with that. Is that information written down anywhere?
just right up here, Lauren. It's just right up here. Sorry.
Okay, so if
no one's
could,
no one's ever asked me to write it down before, so
that's okay. So if you could write that information down, I would love to find a place on the website where we can make this live. If it doesn't exist already, I will have to do some digging because Tammy's right. We have the helpline page, but I'm not really sure if we have much more beyond that. So the first step would be to get Tammy to write all that information down and then to pick where it can live on the website where it makes the most sense.
And this is Shannon Giacovino, DDS ombudsperson. The other thing you should know, Lena, when you're working with these families that don't meet the eligibility criteria for DDS but have the support needs. Tammy mentioned that there was a bill, part of the House Bill 5001, the bill that was passed last session, requires, and I don't know which state agencies, although I'm sure DDS is included, to look at the statute and to report back to the legislature. So if you have families in that situation, they should be contacting their legislators and letting them know who they are, their own legislators. And I can send you a link for how people can find their legislators, but they really should be contacting their legislators and letting them know and telling their stories, because this is definitely an open issue right now. But like Tammy said, DDS is bound by the statute, which is very clear on who is and who is not eligible for DDS. And so it's not up to the agency's discretion to, provide supports for somebody who isn't covered under the statute.
And again, for those that may be a little bit older, DEMAS has a young adult program. For those kids that have, those young adults that have mental health needs. And that's voluntary care management and DCF, I have to say, do a really good job working together of identifying those individuals that need to leave one of those voluntary care management or DCF and move into DEMAS Young Adult Services. So they have a good transition between them as well. So that's a little off the topic of Pratt and our wait list, but so I'm going to bring us back. Are there any other questions about our wait list or Pratt?
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. Please take some time to think about today's presentation. If any of the areas, as Tammy explained them, prompt future questions or weren't clear to you, or there's something you didn't understand, please send further questions as you think about it to Shannon, so that we want to create materials that are complete and understandable. So if anything that either you didn't get and you're thinking about it later, please let us know, because this is really the beginning of our creating family-friendly materials on this topic.
And this is Shannon Giacovino, DDS Ombudsperson. First, I want to thank Tammy very much, because I just think you always do such a wonderful job of demystifying things, for at least for me. So I appreciate that. But I also want to encourage those of you who work directly with families. This meeting is going to be posted on the website so people can watch it. And I know people have a lot of questions about the waiting list. And so if you're working with families who come to you with questions, have them watch this and have them tell you what the questions are, so you could reach out to us, because like Greg says, we want to be able to answer the questions that we know people have. And I think, it would be helpful for just about anybody to watch this meeting today and to, to hear Tammy's presentation. So keep that in mind.
All right, this is Greg McMahon from DDS. It doesn't look like we have any further questions, so I'll echo Shannon's thank you to Tammy for going through this complex topic and making it into something people hopefully understood, and really helping us launch this sort of new project to better explain the wait list to our families. So this is very helpful. It's much appreciated.
Well, thank you for having me. If you need, ask me any questions you need. If you need me, I'm here. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, this is Greg McMahon from DDS. Our next topic on our agenda is a communications update from Lauren. Lauren, you're on.
Okay. First of all, happy early Halloween to everybody. This is Lauren Gray from DDS. Hope everybody had a nice weekend. I don't have a whole bunch of updates, but I'm going to share what I do have. One thing we have been working on is Rewarding Work. Rewardingwork.org is a website that DDS partners with, and it's a free resource where families can find and hire support staff. So we have not been communicating about this a lot as of recently. I learned about it myself last month, but we did just update the DDS website to explain more about what rewarding work is. There's a process on here. You create a free account, and you can search a job board, or you can post a job that you're looking for staff. So we do have this free resource, and we have a free webinar coming up in December about how to use this website, how to sign up. We're going to share some success stories. And it really is, the audience is for people, who self-direct, who are interested in self-direction. But I really hope like this is a good resource that we've been working on this for about a month. And we'll be announcing the webinar later today. It'll be up on our website. We are having some website issues today. The website and all agency websites are running a little bit slow. So IT for the state of Connecticut is working on our website, but that is one thing we have been working on is rewardingwork.org. And like I said, it is a free resource if you do receive DDS supports.
This is Shannon Giacomino, DDS ombudsperson. It is specifically for people who self-direct their supports though, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, so the audience, again, is for people who self-direct or who are interested in self-direction. So that is that. And the next update that I have is the monthly STEP newsletter that we send out will be going out later this week. We have a couple of things we'll be working on. So if you're not signed up for our newsletter, please sign up for that to make sure you are receiving the latest information. I will post the link in the chat to sign up if you haven't already. It's just that our website is running really slow today, and I am sorry about that. Hope everybody's not having too many issues, but please make sure you do sign up for our newsletter and make sure other people do too. And I do want to give two more quick updates on our STEP video series. The employment services video is the next one that's going to launch. We just finished filming it, so we have to go through the editing process. But hopefully we'll be able to show this group before like a portion of it before it goes live. We're very excited to launch the employment video as a part of the STEP video series, so stay tuned for that. And I know I've talked about the DDS website update a few times, but we have an updated timeline of December to roll the new DDS website out. We'll be sharing that with staff first, and I'm hoping to have a testing site for a small group here for feedback before it goes live. We're working on editing quite a few pages. And we do have some testing sites, but they're not final. But I'm hoping by next month's meeting, I'll have an improved testing site to show everybody here for how the new DDS website will look. And I think that's it. If there's anything else I missed, please tell me.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. Sort of related to communications, we're also working on trying to better explain to families how people with more intensive needs might benefit from the initiatives in and around STEP and the core services, the 7 services that we talk about: CCH, self-direction, IHS, customized employment, et cetera, et cetera. I won't remember off the top of my head all 7. And we're in the process of working on that. And one of the things I've found interesting, because I've taken on the task of trying to figure out how many people are in STEP transition plans who have higher lines or who might be considered people with more intensive needs. Because we've heard from a lot of people that the STEP is really for people with lower lines or who are more who may be more able to support themselves in an independent setting. But it turns out that 25% of the plans, that people who are involved in the plans so far have lines of 6 or higher, meaning there are people with fairly intensive needs who are participating in transitions to independent environments. So we're going to be looking at that, who those people are, and going to try and start talking about it a little more, so for other family members with greater need might see themselves in those stories and look at something for their own loved one that might give them more independence. But I was pretty pleased that many people who we would say maybe couldn't do this are doing it. So we're looking to to learn more about their successes and tell people about it. So that's coming. It's a fairly hard project to work on and put together, but we're working on it. And we're also wanting to make sure people understand that people with higher or more intensive needs may have more opportunities to go into some vacancies that are created because people are moving to more independent settings. So all of that is to come, but I think it's important communication for families. So you'll be hearing more and seeing we'll be running some stuff by you in the future. And that's it for you, Lauren. All right. We also have on our call Owen from Deloitte. So Owen, do you have updates?
Good morning, everybody. This is Owen Chung from Deloitte. And I'm actually going to piggyback off what Greg just mentioned, because I think it's very relevant. So as part of STEP, we have been drumming up support for technical assistance to get more folks to submit plans, help individuals that are interested make these transitions. And so we've continued with our weekly office hours as well as one-on-one sessions with interested providers. And then we have also heard in a variety of forums from case managers, from providers, from this group at times, that it would be helpful to see more detail around what's included in some of the approved STEP plans and how providers are innovating, how it's impacting individuals, and like Greg mentioned, what some of these successful transitions look like. So we are in the process of putting together a resource, which I will share briefly. And I'll say this is just a sample of one provider, but what you'll see here is we're doing little one-pagers for each agency that's approved for a STEP transition plan. That includes a brief overview of what's included in their plan and then some key statistics from it. So number of individuals transitioning for day and employment supports, for residential supports, the programs that are included as part of the overall transformation, and then whether or not their plan is going to restructure a previous setting to support individuals with more complex behavioral or medical needs. And then on the right here, you'll see for mid-state, and we do this for all plans, but what you actually see in the 1, 2, 3 will be different depending on the provider. But these are just specific highlights from the plan, either an innovative approach for service delivery, any best practices for stakeholder engagement as they're working with case managers and teams and individuals to plan the transitions, and anything else that's interesting or would be valuable to other providers. So for Midstate, we've highlighted their transition house CLA as one of the interesting aspects of that plan, which is sort of it's an intermediary step between a CLA and a more independent setting where individuals learn skills to be more independent and kind of have time, like a bit of a buffer period before they actually move to that new support. So that is, this is the sort of information that you can expect to see in these summaries, and we're just in the process right now of getting approvals from all of the providers and the help of some of the resource administrators to make sure that these are finalized, and then we will share more widely. And as a part of that effort, we are also looking to include stories about successful transitions from STEP, so specific individuals that have already moved into their new supports. And obviously, since many of these plans were submitted just in the past 6 months or so, we're still pretty early stage for implementation for many providers. But that's information that we're collecting, and we're excited to learn about that ourselves and then also share it with this group and with others. So if there are any questions, we'd love to hear them. But this is something that we think should be pretty helpful for transparency.
Hi, Owen. This is Shannon Jacobino, the DDS Ombuds person. I think this is great. The suggestions that I would make is, is to simplify the communication as much as possible, where you can use fewer words, where you can, not use technical language, don't, I'm thinking like under each of the different areas, maybe using bullet points instead of having a whole paragraph there is really helpful. If the audience is basically everybody, including individuals and families, that's what we've sort of found with our communications is really important to add there. And I don't know if any members of the committee who have been involved in, discussions around communications have any other ideas, but I think that this is fantastic and I think it's very welcome, but those are the suggestions I would offer.
Owen Shum Deloitte. I think that's a great suggestion, Shannon. We've been doing that with lots of our materials, so we'll take another pass through these and see where we can simplify.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. Do you have anything else for us, Owen, today?
Nope, I think this is all. Thank you.
All right, this is Greg McMahon from DDS. I just in the last week or 10 days, 2 weeks, somewhere in there, we've, I think, received 4 new plans that matter of fact, I was working on that launch spreadsheet I mentioned to figure out those with higher need. And every time I finish it, a new agency submits a proposal and I have to do it again. So, but that's good news that we kind of had a lull where we didn't get proposals from providers about transitioning. And all of a sudden we've gotten a bit of a push. So we're getting some more. And some of them are pretty large, 30 people, at least in 2 of them, perhaps more. So it's good news that this is, what seemed like was kind of slowing down has picked up again, and people are very interested in moving forward. So I just wanted to add that. I want to make sure you weren't bringing that up before I did, Owen. So, okay. And any questions for Owen? Comments? Okay, I'll move on to our next agenda item, which is updates and topics for future meetings. I do have one somewhat of an update based on a question Dr. Ellis asked at our last meeting, which is, are we keeping or gathering demographics of people who are involved in transition plans in regard to age, gender, race, etc. Excuse me. And it is, we have a fellow intern who is working with us from Yale, who's working on data as it relates to transition plans. And she, although she hasn't got the data yet, she is including that in her data analysis. So as we move forward, we will be gathering that information. Unfortunately, I don't think we asked it initially, so it's not necessarily at our fingertips, but that is one of the areas that she showed us the other day, a list of areas she's planning on gathering data on, and that is included. So we should be getting that.
Thank you.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. Somebody was saying something, but they got lost.
This is Shannon Jacobino, DDS Ombuds person. I think Dr. Ellis just said thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. No,
This is Lauren. Oh, this is Lauren Gray with DDS. Greg, for next month, could you just add the new website walkthrough as an agenda item, and I will show what I have.
This is Greg McMahon from DDS. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, any other areas or suggested topics for future meetings? And if you think of something, feel free to email other ideas if there's nothing that comes to mind today. All right, next agenda item is our next meeting date is scheduled for November 13th at 10 o'clock on Teams. We're kind of winding down. We talked about this at the last meeting that our cadence has become more every other, not every 2 weeks, but monthly. So we will talk about what our agenda looks like and get a notice out to you whether we're meeting on the 13th. If not, we'll be meeting at the end of November. And I believe there's just one opportunity for one more meeting after that. So our meeting schedule is winding down. But I believe Shannon and Dr. Ellis are working on kind of refiguring the committee. So that should be coming, more to come on that. So if there's no other comments or suggestions, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
This is Jerry Kogut, parent in Midstate ARC. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jerry. Do I have a second?
Jessica Sendell, DDS. I second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.